The IMF, geopolitics, they are meeting in Washington, D.C. As we speak. A lot on their plate as they discuss global geopolitical events, obviously in the Middle East, in Ukraine, in Asia, a lot on the plate. You think about climate change is another global issue, lots going on there. Nadia Calvino joins us. She is the president of the European Investment Bank. She joins us from our Washington, D.C. bureau. Nadia, thanks so much for joining us here. You're down in Washington, D.C. at the IMF. Could you give us a sense of what are some of the key topics that you guys are focused on down there in Washington?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and indeed a lot on our plate, as you were saying. There's been a lot of discussion about the economic outlook and the resilience, the remarkable resilience of the global economy, but also the current risks derived from the geopolitical tensions, uncertainty, and fragmentation of global markets. And we will also be talking a lot about climate action, climate finance, and how to support most vulnerable countries around the world.
I have a dumb question for you, Nadia. Could you explain exactly what the European Investment Bank is and does?
Yes, no, of course. The European Investment Bank is one of the European institutions. It was created when the European institutions were created, decades ago. And it is the largest multilateral financial institution in the world with a 600 billion balance sheet. We do 90% of our investments inside the EU, financing all the key infrastructures from energy, trains, also innovative investment in frontline companies, frontier technologies. And 10% outside the EU, but that means 8 to 9 billion euros a year. So we're a very important partner of the multilateral family.
Nadia, in terms of infrastructure, talk to us about the European Investment Bank and its view on what's transpiring in Ukraine. What is the EIB doing now and then, in the years ahead for the good folks of the Ukraine?
Yes, we're currently probably the most important investment partner to the Ukrainian government. We had a roundtable yesterday where there was a very strong support. I was impressed by the very strong statements that were made around the table to support Ukraine. Our support to Ukraine is unwavering. It's about peace and security for Europe, of course. And the EIB is investing right now, focusing and supporting Ukraine in the run-up to the winter, so repairs and resilience of energy infrastructures. And going beyond the energy sector, we're supporting investments in housing, schools, education, and also private companies. We just launched an export credit guarantee facility, which has been oversubscribed for European companies trading with Ukraine. So we will continue to support Ukraine now during the war and hopefully very soon in their reconstruction.
What is the European Green Deal and what's your investment there?
Well, more than 50% of our annual investments go to the green transition, and that's why we're consolidating our role as the climate bank. And this has to do with the energy transition we just discussed, but also the deployment of net zero technologies, from green hydrogen to other green fuels, and also making sure that Europe continues to be one of the leading players worldwide when it comes to green tech. And I think that we're getting on with it. The private sector is also getting on with it. Just yesterday, we released a very interesting investment survey that shows that European companies, more than 60% of European companies are actually investing in green technologies. And I think that's very good news, so that we can really move to a net zero economy and make climate and competitiveness just two sides of the same coin.
Nadia, across the 27 countries in the European Union, where are the biggest concerns for you right now? Where are you maybe spending most of your time or more of your time?
Well, we invest in the 27 member states, and we are investing very heavily right now in this green transition to make sure also that Europe becomes strategically independent. The war in Ukraine has shown us that being dependent on other parts of the world, and in particular fossil fuel producers, it's a vulnerability for Europe. And so there's a strong determination to make the green transition a European success. And we're very much focusing here. But of course, we're also stepping up our support to Europe's security and defense industry, digitalization, social infrastructures, trying to make sure that we continue to be a prosperous part of the world and also protecting our values.
And how dependent is your investment portfolio on U.S. policy, specifically the outcome of the election here?
Well, we obviously will continue to be closely partnering with whoever is leading the U.S. government. And the transatlantic relationship, I think, is quite strategic. And it is a win-win relationship, both to the U.S. and to Europe. So we have every interest to continue to build close ties from the cultural point of view, from the economic and financial point of view, and of course from the security and defense point of view too. And that doesn't influence really our investment activities at the EIB. We will continue to be a very important investment player inside the EU and of course around the world.
So as Europe, I think, adapts to the new world where Russia is much more of an adversary than maybe they were prior to the invasion of the Ukraine, are most of the member states in the EU, are they operating as if, at least for the foreseeable future, Russia will not be in any way, shape, or form an economic partner?
Well, right now we're focusing very much in supporting Ukraine. I hope that this war ends as soon as possible and that we can, see how the new global order is shaping up in a manner which is more constructive. What we're seeing in the last years is growing tensions, growing wars, and that obviously is not good for the global economy, and that is not good for the citizens' perception of stability and happiness, if I may put it this way. So I really hope that we can move to a more constructive approach throughout the world from the perspective of the European Investment Bank and from the perspective of the multilateral development institutions more broadly that we're gathering here in Washington these days. I think that we're showing that we're walking the talk. We're becoming as effective as possible, working as a system, cooperating closely together so that we can play the role that we're called to in supporting global stability and also bringing prosperity and protecting most vulnerable countries around the world. I think that this shows that together we're stronger and that by cooperating we can get further and faster than by tension and conflict, of course.
Nadia, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking some time to speak with us. Nadia Calvino, president of the European Investment Bank, the IMF, is meeting in Washington, D.C. This week, and obviously a lot on their plate in terms of geopolitics and financing the growth of Europe here.